Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all well. I can see in the top counter up here, we've got 99 attendees, and I know that that's just going to, well, it's just jumped already. So I'm going to start and know that this is recorded from the link, and we'll make that link available on the website. So those who are unable to join tonight or who come in a few moments will be able to go back to the beginning and see what we're talking about. Thank you for making the time to attend this evening. I know it's another bit of time where it seems like you're on the devices, but it's one of those things where I think regardless of what we're experiencing with lockdown, I think we really need to make sure that we carry on with our planning and our implementation for the curriculum for September, even though it's only just ticked over into February. And also it's yet another opportunity, it seems, for me as a new principal to not quite meet with the parent community just yet, but I know it is getting tantalisingly more close. So you'll be able to realise that just behind this bald head and relatively smiley northern features, I am actually really 6'5", absolutely huge physical presence. Not really, a bit more like Tom Cruise in terms of 5 foot something. Just to give you an overview of what we're going to go through this evening, we'll give you a general outline of the subject choices. We'll give you some ideas as well of things that you should consider when making those choices. Things to avoid and when making those choices, and they tend to be the ones that jump to the forefront of your mind as well. We've given some time, a big gap in between this evening and the Meet the Tutor event next week before you actually need to put your subjects in, and that's primarily because there will be a big chunk of the year group who pretty much by the end of the week will have known exactly what subject choices they're making, but for others it can be quite a challenging experience, and we need to make sure we've got plenty of time for those students, to give them time to talk with parents and with friends and with their tutors and support staff in college to make sure that they can make the choices that they're most happy with. So that time and how to research those potential choices are really important. And then obviously, as we're doing everything remote at the moment, then you'll be submitting your choices remotely online as well, and Dr. Nortonbury will go through that process and make sure that you understand just exactly how those choices are made. But rather than listening to myself and Dr. Nortonbury all evening, what we've got are two of our fab students who are going to give you an insight into a student's perspective of somebody who's already made their option choices 2 years ago now, or I think that's right, isn't it, Erin and Rachel, and give you some ideas of their viewpoints on what they found. So over to you both.
Hello. I think it's really important to think about where the subjects will lead you in the future. Consider how many options your choices are leaving you. If you are unsure about what you want to do, always pick what you enjoy, because that will get you to somewhere you want to be, even if you are not sure where that is yet. On the flip side, if you feel you have set aspirations, but they change during GCSEs, picking subjects you love will cover you and still get you to a future you want. This was a main worry for me, as I wanted to ensure that my choices would get me somewhere I wanted to be. However, I chose what I enjoyed, and I'm currently perfectly happy in my options despite having a drastic change in aspiration. Enjoying a subject also helps motivate you to work hard in it, helping you to get better grades and show what you are capable of.
Considering all the subjects that are available to you is also really important, even if you think you know exactly what you want to do. This is something that I did when I had my choice this evening, and it did make me change one of my choices, and I worried a lot about whether that was a good idea. But I do not regret changing it. And you should research into subjects, all of the subjects, especially the ones that you haven't already done in school, and see how the GCSE course for the ones you have done differs to what you did in year 7 and 8. And research into where that option could lead you in the future. And also solidifying what you don't want to do will also help lead you to what you do want to do. And you also need to remember that teachers are there for you to ask questions about their subject. Don't be afraid to ask.
It's also really important to think about what qualities that qualification will show you have. The GCSE or BTECs you choose show things to sixth forms and apprenticeship programmes about your character, not just that they are subjects you like. Taking subjects you enjoy will show your character in a more accurate way than picking subjects that are not things you want to do.
It's really important not to let your choices be influenced by other people. Don't pick or not pick a subject just because your parents or friends told you to. Pick subjects for your future, not the future that someone else wants for you.
Also try to make sure you don't pick a subject for a teacher, because there is always the possibility that they will not teach you. Don't pick an option because a lot of your friends are choosing it. If they are your friend, then your friendship will last outside of GCSE options. A lot of my friends take very different subjects than me, but we are still close and our friendship has not been ruined.
Take your time with the process. Be absolutely certain in what you're going to choose, and that's much more important than submitting your form weeks before the deadline. It isn't a first come first served process, and as long as you meet the deadline, it doesn't matter when you turn in the form. If we were to give you one piece of advice each, it would be:
try not to be scared off a subject if you are told there is a high amount of workload, because if you love it, it will be worth it. I chose a subject in which there was a high amount of work, yet I am happy in my choice because I enjoy the subject.
Check thoroughly into every subject just to be sure. Looking into subjects you don't want to do could change your mind.
Blimey, I don't think there's a lot more that we need to say, actually. And if anything, I probably should have shared my slides with both the girls, because they've just gone through about a big chunk of them, which is great for the rest of you, because it means that we'll won't need to go through it in as much detail as possible. But they've put it far more eloquently than I would have done. So thank you, girls. Now, what I wanted to do is not spend a huge amount of time talking about the strengths and merits of Ely College, because I realise that you've already been with us for a year and a half, albeit one that's been quite interrupted with COVID. But I think what I'd like to do, bearing in mind you haven't really had a chance to meet me or have let me kind of say what I've really enjoyed about the past few months joining the college and what I'm like as a person and what you can expect from me. I just want to take a couple of minutes just to give you an overview of what really matters to me and what I've found since I joined the college in September, just to give you just more of an opportunity to find a bit more about how I tick. And obviously I love having my photograph taken. I'm quite shy, actually, despite having a role where I need to do lots of public speaking, although it is a little bit easier. Well, I don't know, a little bit easier when you do it to screen, although I really enjoy doing assemblies, so I really miss not doing those at the moment. But I knew when I was joining in September it was going to be a fantastic place to work, and we were really blessed to have an autumn term where we had as little disruption as we did, and we managed to have almost a complete term with only sending, one core group home for a period of isolation. And we're really lucky that we had that big chunk of autumn term. It really is a wonderful privilege to be a principal here at Ely College, my first principal, and quite a few people of my supposed friends have said you must be mad to be a head teacher in these times, but actually I'm not, and I feel so lucky knowing that I've got such an amazing team to work with. The staff are incredible. The community of you and parents and business people as well could not have been more welcoming and more supportive. And the students are genuinely exceptional, really exceptional, and they're a real privilege to work with. And the college is huge and it feels really empty without them here. And I know that as soon as we can work to a model where we can get the students back in, then we'll do everything humanly possible to make sure we get them in as safely as possible. But what can you expect from my leadership? Well, I want everyone really to enjoy coming to college. That's really predicated on making sure the experience is a joyful experience where the relationships between the students and the parents and the teachers are as mutually respectful and considerate as possible, where the teachers are really happy coming into work because they feel supported and they're able to do their job. The students know that there's that healthy stress with being challenged and wanting to do well and wanting to succeed, but not any fear of intimidation or overload that really is counterproductive in terms of students reaching their potential and just enjoying the learning and experience they've got from being in college. I really want to strengthen the reputation, which is already really high, and the quality of relationships within the community. Ely College has really started to become a lot more prominent locally, and I want to do what we can to make sure that grows and grows. You'll know that we've just had a period of recruitment, and the next 3 days I'm going to be interviewing a lot of teachers to meet the fact that our student numbers are growing so fantastically well. And I'm really delighted with the fact that the next 3 days are going to be relentlessly busy in terms of speaking to people who want to come and work here. For 6 jobs, we had over 100 applications, and it's a fantastic opportunity to look through a pool of teachers now where we can look at 100% subject specialists, and now we're able to say, yeah, but they're all great teachers, but who are the ones who are going to be the best fit for us? Who are the ones who are really going to inspire our students and work fantastically well with the amazingly committed staff that we've already got? Clearly, I mean, I spent all of the autumn term seeing every single teacher teach, and one thing was really clear, that the vast majority of teachers in the college are exceptionally talented in their skill and the art of teaching and the craft of teaching. But clearly one thing that really needs to improve over the next couple of years is the quality of those results. And it's really obvious for me that the teaching is not the issue. We just need to have the luxury of that huge impetus that Mr. Spencer put in with supporting the school to where it is now, and the benefit of time and the curriculum and the calmness around the college and the fantastic attitude our students have got have meant that we can be really confident that results will improve over time and really place Ely College as a fantastic centre for attainment, not just student experience in the future. And in terms of the experience, we're going to talk about curriculum tonight. We're going to be able to give you a list of a huge number of subjects that students can choose from a wide range of traditional domains within a school experience. But there are still areas within the curriculum that I really want to develop over time. You know, I really want to see more dance being evident and delivered within the curriculum. I want to build on languages. There are other subjects that I really want to build. I want students at Ely to have the sort of experience that other students who have to pay for their experience elsewhere, you know, there's no reason why we can't expect our students to have the same opportunities at fee-paying schools and look at classics and those sorts of subjects, because we want our students to have all of those opportunities and know that they can navigate their path through as best fits them with the support and the guidance that they get. I think the guiding principle that Ely College wants to be a college of which the city is proud of is a fantastic guiding star for me, and that's a real focus for this year. There are lots that we can be super proud of. The feedback that we've had over the remote learning that's been in place has been hugely impressive, and I think that really everything is geared up to make sure that as we go on in a post-COVID environment, the school continues to thrive and be exceptionally, you know, a positive and wonderful experience, and one that you as a community are really proud to say your children go to Ely College and you couldn't be proud of where they go. Sounds easy, doesn't it? So in terms of the outline of the guided choices, what we've worked at is that we've already given the booklets online to students. They've been accessible on the website. We've got the guiding evening online tonight where we'll give you lots of pointers and some feedback of things to think about. And then we've got the Meet the Tutor event next week. Will be a really good chance for your children and for you to talk through to your tutor and ask about more questions about courses and who they should speak to. I think both feedback from the girls, you know, I'll come back to at various points. I was scribbling and making loads of notes, but Erin's point about researching those subjects you don't know much about is massively important, and we've built some time in where you can do some real due diligence and do some work to find out what those subjects are. And the deadline of 19th of March is plenty of time for you to be able to research and make choices that you're happy with, but also for us to then design a curriculum and teaching and make sure everything is in place so that when we do come back and start the academic year in September, I know it sounds ages away, but there's already a lot of planning that needs to be put in place in order to make sure that we start September really successfully. Now, in terms of your choices, I know it sounds a little bit odd to have a title of choices and put key in a lock, and it seems quite constrained, but you know, I wouldn't view these as subjects that are constrained. I think these subjects are fundamental to the premise of educating students to a point where they can go into the community and society and be successful, confident, responsible individuals. They need to have a high degree of English literacy, maths, numeracy and scientific literacy. They need to be fit and active individuals. They need to have an insight to morality and ethics that we'd expect people to be able to have when they're faced with difficult decisions, and nowhere has that been more evident over the past 18 months with a whole range of issues that the society has had to grapple with. And the key element of PSHE meaning that the parts of the curriculum that don't fit well into certain subjects but are still massively important in terms of careers guidance and sex relationships education guidance, stuff that is massively important for students to turn from young children when they join us in year 7 to when they become grown adults and they leave us in year 13. So there's a real core that's non-negotiable, fundamental, and all students will experience this core part of the curriculum. But within that, then there's a huge amount of choice that's offered within the option subjects. So you're going to be able to choose from a wide number of domains, from the arts, from drama, from design and technology. And I've worked in a number of schools, and I think the facilities we've got on site for design and technology are genuinely superb. And that was borne out by the fact we had, I think it was over 18 applicants of teachers who wanted to come and work, and they all mentioned the fact that technology is wonderfully supported here in the college. Computer science, obviously, you know, is incredibly well taught. You know, I'm really surprised that Rachel didn't mention, but you know, being her computer science teacher, but I'll make sure I pick that up with her tomorrow. Geography and the humanities, hair and beauty. We've got a thriving facility on the site where we're able to do these traditionally vocational subjects, but they're still challenging and academic. But it means that instead of students having to travel off for a more traditionally college experience, we're able to make sure that we can deal with that on site without having to face lots of transport. And obviously the core element of PE is supplemented with the optional element of taking GCSE PE or a BTEC sport, and the fact that the philosophy, ethics and religion can be augmented with students choosing that as a GCSE option as well. So there's already a wide range of subjects to choose from for this year to start their year 9 studies. Things that I want you to consider though when you're making these choices, because as somebody who's written the timetable in a number of schools and managed the curriculum, these are all questions that come up every time. Is my child able to succeed at subject A? And I think that one of the things that I'm really confident about here is that we've got some exceptional teachers. So we operate on a premise here that we're a comprehensive school, and that we shouldn't be turning around and saying that certain subjects are fit for certain students and not others, and that there almost needs to be a clearinghouse. That's not the attitude here. You know, we welcome all students, and it's up to the talents and the abilities of our staff to make sure they get the best of all the students that they teach. But these are guided choices, and there will be times where, in order to really better meet the needs of the students, we might need to give you as parents and you as students guidance about what might be the best choice. But we will always bear in mind, your desire to choose the subjects that really excite you, and hopefully will become the subjects that you go on to pursue when you get older and become life-affirming experiences for having studied them. So there will be clearly a consultation, but in terms of, is my child able to succeed at a subject? Well, that's what we do on our day-to-day basis. We have to make sure that the teaching is strong enough to support children regardless of the subjects that they choose. You will have heard about the EBAC, and the position of the college is that we support it in the sense of our options allow and encourage students to follow those subjects that are linked within the EBAC. If you're not clear about it, it was a qualification of sorts that was set up a number of years ago when Michael Gove was the Education Secretary, because it was thought at the time that schools weren't really focusing on the facilitating subjects that were thought to lead to a successful university career. Now, a couple of years ago, that was rightly undermined when the Russell Group universities, those universities that are traditionally seen as the most desirable institutions to attend, said that they were dismissing their list of facilitating subjects and said actually there's no pre-required list of subjects that any one student must follow. They're far more interested in the experiences that the students have had and their scholarly habits that they have that will enable them to succeed at university. So the EBAC is there, and it's something that we support, but it's not more important than supporting students making choices that they believe are the best choices for them for the next 3 years of study. Some subjects, I think in my experience, have been perceived to be more academic than others. My experience as a school leader says that's just not true. And I think even when I remember having lots of discussions with people over many years when they thought that, woodwork was a subject that's better suited to boys who want to get their hands mucky as opposed to do lots of work in books. They clearly haven't been in a woodwork lesson, not that we call it that anymore. Design and technology as a subject is exceptionally demanding, both in terms of their ability to make artifacts, and those of us who have experienced DIY or do our best to try and avoid it would know that that's not an easy thing. But when you're talking about being able to design something to meet a brief and reflect and evaluate it, those are higher order thinking skills. And so they are just as challenging in other subjects that might be perceived to be more academic. All of them are worth the GCSE, and all of them have hoops to jump through in order to prove their performance, although albeit at the moment we don't know what they look like for the current year 11. And the girls both picked up on this. How do I know who's going to be teaching the subject that next year? You don't know. It shouldn't be an element or an aspect of your thinking. I wanted to be really clear when I communicated to parents about the number of adverts that were out in the news, that don't see this as being an indication of turnover, because that can be a metric that people are not happy. That definitely is not the case at Ely. The number of position we're recruiting for is just because year on year we're going to be adding at least 100 students to the school body, and we need more staff to do that. One thing I will guarantee to you is one of my main important jobs is to coach teachers and make sure that the quality in the lessons is of a standard that I would expect for my children, who are at one of them's at secondary school age and one's at primary. So you don't know who's going to be teaching the subject next year, but you can please really trust me that we'll make sure that they're the very best people for the job, and they will all, regardless of their backgrounds and abilities, be part of a programme and support where we encourage all the teachers to grow and reflect and improve on what we do on a day-to-day basis. Things that you should not really consider, and these have been picked up by the girls, so I won't spend too long over these as well, but really clear, because again they come up every year. Don't choose what your friends are doing, because like Rachel said, if they're really good friends, they'll love you regardless of what subject you're choosing. Lessons are for learning, not catching up with your friends, and in any case, in our experience, particularly at this age of their teenage years, friends can be friends one minute and not friends the next, and we don't need to be making tweaks to subjects just on the basis of who's fallen out with whom. Again, don't choose just because you think that teacher is the best, and because you might be disappointed to find out whether we change the groups and move things around. You really mustn't think about the teacher being a factor of the course. We will make sure we've got the best teachers in place to deliver these programmes. You don't know much about the subject, so it must be worth a go. That is categorically one of the worst reasons for choosing a subject. And we do have a couple that we offer that students won't have really experienced previously. So subjects such as media and business studies. Now, I have to say that I never did business studies at school. Didn't do it for my A-levels. And it's rather ironic now as a principal, I spend more of my time doing business related activities. So it would have been a great one to have studied. But it's really important that when the students go through their options list and find a subject they've not really experienced before, they must just spend some time finding out what's on the syllabus, what sort of topics would I cover, how will I be assessed, what will it look like in the classroom, what sort of opportunities does it lead on to. Contact the teachers. You know, one of the wonderful things about Teams is you can quite easily ping a message to a teacher and they will respond. But then obviously as well, we can make sure that the tutors will have some insight when you meet the tutors next week to point you in the direction. And obviously Dr. Nortonbury and the team at college have done a wonderful job putting all the resources on the website under Year 8 Guided Choices, where you'll be able to find as a first point of contact more information about those subjects. You don't enjoy it now, but you think it might be important for later study. We haven't got a clue what the next couple of months are going to look like, let alone what the requirements are going to be for future study. I think both of the girls had said that, Rachel in particular said that you choose the subject that you most enjoy. And I think when you are stuck for a decision, choose the subjects where you think, I can really look forward to studying this for another 3 years. It might not be the one thing that I go on and study at A-level or for an apprenticeship or at university, but that doesn't matter. It's all about that life experience. So choose the subjects that you think, I don't really know what I want to do, but I think that choosing these subjects would actually be a huge enjoyment for me, and I want to be able to explore them, even if it's just I get to the end of GCSE and I don't take it any further. That's absolutely fine. So our advice, and I'm going to hand over to Dr. Nortonbury in a second, is that you look at the options list in the booklet and highlight the subjects you enjoy. Look at those you don't know about and do some active digging. That's why we've put that time in place where you can do some research. Think ahead for some subjects and think, do subjects that I might consider at A-level, do they recommend courses? In my experience, they really don't. I mean, the obvious exception might be music, But then I think if students who have a real flair for music and take lessons outside of school, it's not impossible for a student to do A-level music having not done GCSE music, but my wife being one of them, for example, but she plays about 6 instruments. But there will be some. I mean, clearly, if you want to do computing at some point at sixth form, you could do it without computer science, but why would you make it harder for yourself by not giving you that advantage? So do think ahead about the sort of courses you might want to take. But again, don't panic. If you don't honestly know what you want to do, don't rush into making those decisions. Think about what do you really enjoy doing so that you can focus on taking those courses. And again, just if you're not sure, just take those subjects that you really enjoy doing. That's the best bit of advice we can give you. Now I'm going to hand over to Dr. Nortonbury, who's going to take you through the more challenging bit about how you actually take that through into the experience of making those choices.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. And first thing I want to say is, how many subjects do you need to choose? This is a question I've been asked a few times, actually over the last 24 hours from doing the assembly to year 8 yesterday. And the simple answer is you're going to be studying for GCSEs. So you're going to be choosing eventually for GCSEs that you're going to be studying through to year 11. However, to help us make the decisions to be able to give everybody as best the choices we can do, we ask that you actually make 5 choices. Okay, I'll explain why in a minute. Okay, but it's really, really important that all 5 of the choices that you choose are ones you would be happy to study. Okay, so Mr. Warburton showed you the list of subjects earlier. That list is in the subject booklet. That list is on the website. And what you need to be doing is finding 5 of those that you would be happy with, and then ranking them. So your first choice isn't just the first one you'd be entering on the system. Your first choice is of all the GCSEs I'm choosing to want to study, that is the one I really want to do. That's my first choice. Then I've got my second choice, I've got my third choice, I've got my fourth choice, and then I've got my reserve. Okay, now the reason we ask for this 5th choice, this reserve, is that there are over 200 year 8s. Actually, there are well over 200 year 8s. Trying to give absolutely every single year 8 the choices they want, 1 to 4, and making that work with a timetable is difficult to impossible. Okay, we are very good at what we do, but we cannot always please everybody, that we don't have the capacity within the timetable to do that. So we do, at that point, if we can't make a particular set of options fit, we do look at the 5th choice, swapping in for one of the other ones, which is why it's really, really important that the 5th choice is one that you actually would be happy to take if necessary. Obviously, I do everything I can when I'm putting the groups together to minimise that. But it does happen where people don't actually get the first 4. Okay, and very rarely, to the point that last year, so the current year 9, there were 3 students that didn't get 4 of their 5 choices. Okay, there were 3 students where I could give them 3 of their choices, but no matter how I played with the groupings, the blockings, the group sizes, everything like that, I couldn't give them either their 4th or 5th choice. And at that point, I'll be having a conversation with you to go through what options are left. Okay. So how do you choose? What do you choose? Mr. Warburton was talking about the EBacc facilitating subjects, and although the Russell Group don't view those anymore, we do ask that you choose at least 2 subjects from what we call List A. So List A is the geography, history, French, Spanish and computer science. And we ask you to choose your remaining 3 subjects from either List A or List B. Okay, so that means in theory you could choose geography, history, French and computer science if you really wanted to. Okay, you can choose more from list A if you want to. We do ask you to choose at least 2 of those subjects. Now, one of the questions that I was asked in the Q&A, I'm not sure if everybody's managed to see that, was do you have to have been taking the language to be able to study at GCSE? The answer to that is pretty much normally yes. So if you've been studying Spanish during Key Stage 3 and you all of a sudden want to pick up French, normally we'd have to advise against that because a base understanding would be needed. However, if you were a French natural speaker, for example, then obviously that lack of study in year 7 and 8 wouldn't be an issue, so that would be a good choice for you. Okay, there's also 2 other things we just have to be careful about. In terms of design technology subjects, you can't choose both 3D products and fashion and textiles. Basically, it's one or the other. And the same is true for sports BTEC or PE GCSE. You can't choose to do both, please. They're too similar as courses. Okay. Now, in terms of how you then make your choices and the preferences, I've just got a couple of slides to just go through how in your mind you might make it look. Okay, so this particular student has made the 5 choices. They've decided to choose 3 from list A, 2 from list B. Geography, history are the first 2 choices, then media, then Spanish, and drama is down as their reserve choice. Okay, so that's met the criteria of 2 from list A, at least 2 from list A, and having 5 choices in total. Example 2, you can see this student would much prefer to do art, design, textiles and 3D products. And as I look at this, I realise I've made the mistake where the student has actually chosen the 2 DT subjects, which they can't do. That aside, they have chosen 2 subjects from list A, history and French, and they put French in as the reserve. The 2 subjects from list A do not need to be in the top 4 choices. They just need to be in the 5 overall choices. So you could have your first choice from list A, 2, 3 and 4 from list B, and 5th choice from list A again. Okay, how do the students go about entering their choices? In previous years, we've used a form, which is basically a piece of paper, filled it out, handed it back to the tutor. There were a number of issues with that, COVID aside. So we used to have a lot of pieces of paper flying around the college, easy for them to get lost, easy for them to get damaged, easy for them to have mistakes as you transcribe from the piece of paper, entering it onto the system. Okay, so what we're using this year is the Options Online system, Sims Options Online. It automatically puts the choice into the system I'll use to sort out the groups. And it basically is COVID proof in as much as you can do it from home. So if we're still not back in college by the 19th, which obviously I hope we are, but if we're not back in college by the 19th, students can still enter their choices. Okay, so students would go to the link you see at the top of the screen. They'd use the Office 365 Windows type icon, Microsoft icon, which is the 4 squares arranged into a square. When they log into that, using their school username and password, they will see the screen you see at the bottom here, the blue screen with all the buttons. Okay, at that point, they would click Sims Options. Now, I had some emails yesterday going, "Sir, I did that, I clicked it and it's a blank screen." And my response is brilliant, because that means you got access, that means you're getting to the right place, but I haven't made the system live yet, so there's nothing there to see. Okay, so if you do go through this process, click on Sims Options and you go through to a next screen and it's blank, that's fine, because actually I haven't made it live yet. Okay, when I have made it live, it will look a bit like that. Okay, so there will be all the choices in front of you. There's also a box for student comments, so if you've got anything particularly you want to say about it, enter things in there. And how do you make your choices? Okay, so you decided already in your head, right, I want my 2 from list A, my 3 from everywhere else. And essentially, it's a very simple click and choose system. So this particular student has made their first choice and they've clicked art and design because that's what they want to do first. OK, so you'll see in the top left hand corner, you've chosen 1 of 4. And in the right hand side, you'll see that art and design has gone in as preference number 1. Then you click your second choice. In this case, geography goes in second choice preference. Third choice in this case is Spanish. Fourth choice in this case is RE or PRE. And you'll then see that the box that says you've chosen 4 of 4, the arrow or the box with the arrow in goes green. So you've made your 4 ranking choices. But I did say it's the 5th choice as well, the reserve choice. And that one, next to the subject you want to choose as your reserve, you click the reserve button. OK, that choice will go orange. It will go into my reserves. And then the choices process in terms of actually getting what you've decided onto the screen is done. Now you might have gone, oh, I've made a mistake. I wanted geography in number 1 and art in number 2. Very simply, you click on geography on the right hand list, you click above it to art and design, and it just swaps them round. OK, simple as that. So you can reorder them if you want to. You can also, if you really want to, just go back, re-click art and design, geography, engineering, Spanish and RE within the main body and just re-enter them in the right order. Doesn't matter, both things work. OK, now the most important, crucial part of this process, something that people will forget, is to hit the save button. If you do not hit the save button and you navigate away from the screen, it is not something that auto saves and you will have lost all your choices and you'll have to do it again. Now, granted, that's a fairly quick process. However, it's just annoying for you. OK, so when you've chosen your 5 subjects, you put them in order, you're happy with them, click save. OK, one other question I was asked over email after yesterday was, if you change your mind, can you? Absolutely. Up to the point where I lock the choices, which will be on the 19th of March, you can go in and you can change choices as many times as you want. OK, click save each time, and whatever is the last thing you saved when I lock it is what will get pulled through into my system. OK, that system goes online the day after Year 8 tutor evening. So that's next Tuesday. So this system will go online next Wednesday. OK, now there were still a small number of students who haven't activated their Sims app accounts. I emailed every single one of them today, still emailing them, some of them having a bit of a hiccup registering. If worst comes to worst, I can add choices on manually. OK, I'd rather the people actually put them onto the system because there's less likely to be that transcription mistake. But if there's a handful of students who are having real difficulty in getting onto the system to enter their choices, then please don't panic. There are ways around it. OK, and also just to let you know, on the Thursday after the system locks, the Wednesday or the Thursday, I will be emailing home a copy of the final choices made by the students. OK, so just on the off chance there's been some last minute changes that might catch people by surprise, I'm going to be doing an email drop on the Wednesday or the Thursday after the system closes, just so home are aware. OK, now, as Mr. Warburton said, there's a lot of information on the website under the Year 8 Guided Choices link. That can be found in the student section of the college website, or if you've got any particular questions, if you email guidedchoices@elycollege.co.uk, that will get pinged to me and I'll be able to handle any questions that come from that. OK. Thank you very much for listening to the practicalities of it all. Does anybody have any questions that you're wanting to raise? Mr. Warburton, you are unfortunately still muted.
And you know, I just recited a wonderful bit of poetry, just brilliant. It's a good job I don't teach any major computer-based subjects, isn't it? I was just saying, actually, Dr. Nortonbury, that a parent has put a comment in the Q&A, and they've explained themselves fantastically. I am just being a little bit inept at the moment, so if you could have a look and see if you can respond and put an answer to that, that'd be fantastic. And I can answer the one from Aaron about BTEC Sport equivalent to a GCSE. We can definitely answer that. That's a lot easier to answer than that one. Thank you so much for your patience, and I hope that you've really found that's given you lots of information to start with. I mean, obviously it is a real start on the journey, and you know, we will be you will be able to continue pinging us a couple of messages, but as Dr. Nortonbury said, we've got email addresses that we will man actively. We will be as proactive as possible in responding to those questions. Your children must feel as confident as they can that they can talk to their tutor or approach their head of house and their SSA, and then all of the questions will come back to Dr. Nortonbury, and then we'll deal with these as best as possible. And obviously we've got the tutor event next week as well. There's a long time to deal with this, and hopefully you would feel by the end of it that there'll be a lull, because you'll feel like, well, we've asked all the questions that we've got, we know what we've done, we've put our forms in, and then that would be a great position to be in when we know there's not a mad rush at the end. So thank you for your patience. I'll just end this recording here, and then we will deal with those questions that have popped up. What we'll also do as well, we'll add some of those to the website as well, because they're the sort of questions that we'll need to come back to from parents who haven't been able to access this, but we'll go to the website and get some more details. Can I thank Dr. Nortonbury for his time in putting this together? Can I also thank Erin and Rachel as well? It's not easy to do these things, and I thought they spoke fantastically well. Having seen some of the quality of the artwork that Erin does, I'm not surprised that she speaks so eloquently as she draws and paints as well. So that was a very good delivery from them both. And I wish you the very best of your evening as well, and a fab rest of the week as well. Thank you so much for your time this evening.